what is essential is accountability. And so one piece of that accountability is the International Criminal Court, and we welcome online the Honorable Karim A, King's Counsel and Prosecutor at the ICC.
Distinguished foreign ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a somber moment, and it's an awful and unwanted necessity to be assembled together today. As has been said by the distinguished speakers already, as is known in the world that have seen the pictures, that have heard the voices, terrible trauma and suffering has been occasioned to Ukraine and her people over the last 1 year. In May of last year, I was in Bucha, outside St. Peter's Church, with the then Prosecutor General, with my team, and with the Ukrainian investigators that were working with courage to document the crimes that appear to have been committed. I saw the body bags, and we heard the accounts. And in the subsequent months, the investigations conducted by my office have deepened. In Borodyanka, in Kharkiv, and when I left, I thought really about left behind because shells were falling. I left Kharkiv, my small team, and we went to Kyiv, but Ukrainian investigators and prosecutors remained in a city that was on the front line, and this is repeated across Ukraine. I said very clearly in Bucha that unfortunately and objectively, Ukraine was a crime scene. And the accounts that we have seen fortify the conclusion that manifestly, ever more vividly, we are certain that there are reasonable grounds to that Rome Statute crimes appear to have been committed in Ukraine. We've seen, and it's been mentioned by the First Lady of Ukraine and others, we've seen the pictures of the injured regarding the maternity ward in Mariupol or the theater. We've seen and heard accounts of the targeting of the grids. We've seen and heard allegations of prisoners of war that are recounting allegations of torture. We have heard and spoken to individuals who are complaining of sexual and gender-based violence. We have seen and heard the predicament of some children who appear to have been taken across international borders. And our joint responsibility is to make sure the law is on the front lines. It is not an optional extra. It is not something that we come to with a degree of pedestrian approach. We need to act with dispatch while the bullets are being fired and as bombs are falling, because I have seen, either on the border of Poland, when grandmothers and women and children crossed the border early on, at the end of February and beginning of March, that the law matters to individuals. Whilst many have lost their physical shelter, they are looking increasingly to the law to give them shelter now for what they've endured and to mitigate or ameliorate the worst types of excesses that far too often take place in conflict. And therefore, the seriousness of the situation from any perspective is well known to everybody. And yet in the despair of uncertainty, we have also seen numerous times courage, indefatigable energy, and determination to survive, to prosper, and to succeed. There is a saying, of course, that the darkest part of the night is just before the dawn. And God alone knows whether or not we have seen the worst, but we pray so. But in the midst of the disruption, the uncertainty, when the anchors of stability seem to have been uprooted in so many places around the world, we do see rays of hope. In an unprecedented move, within 48 hours of my invitation, 39 states spoke with one voice from all corners of the world that the situation in Ukraine should be referred to my office. We now have 43 states. We have seen new partnerships being built. The Foreign Minister of the Netherlands, Wopke Hoekstra, has to be applauded, as does the government of the Netherlands, in pioneering with my office a unique, novel, rotational model for forensic experts to go under the of the ICC to help document crime scenes, to collect evidence to the highest international standards, to help the Ukrainian national authorities, and also to provide evidence to my office in a way that will facilitate independent and impartial investigation. Since May of last year, we've had a continuous field presence in Ukraine. We've partnered also with, for the first time in the history of the office, with a joint investigative team, 7 states now under the auspices of Europe. And we've also tried to build new bridges, realizing that there's no space for disinterest. There's no space for spectators in this battle conscience of humanity, this imperative that the law is rendered effective in this critical moment of world affairs. It's something, for many reasons, has to transcend Ukraine and galvanize us all to do better when it comes to adherence of law. And so we've also partnered with the Genocide Network and also Eurojust to produce civil society guidelines to make sure that those brave and enthusiastic documenters can also be given some guidance, facilitate their work to document as first responders and also refer matters to the national prosecution agencies and the office. So in the darkness of the hour, we do have these rays of hope. And the lesson that does need to be understood by all of us as students, all of us with is that the law must be seen to be potent. So this moment is a moment of opportunity, but for us to deliver on that, I would also, with respect, echo wise words, if I may say so, of the First Lady of Ukraine. And she said a few minutes that human rights, like the air, have no border. It's really important. And the prosecutor of the ICC is not any state or any government, and is not against any state or any government. The prosecutor of the ICC must be to be a friend of humanity and a servant of justice. And the simple truth of the matter is, we need to use this moment also to make sure that the concerns that are here in various parts of the world, particularly the global south, are addressed, and we use this moment to give rise to any arguments of exceptionalism or of selectivity. And well before the situation in Ukraine really went over the tipping point in February the 24th of last year, that was the most recent, of course, aggression. I said on the 16th of June 2021, a year and a half ago, when I was sworn in, that I'm not in the export business. I'm not selling a product to states. That the Rome Statute that I've sworn to uphold and apply independently and impartially is not the law of Italy. The Geneva Conventions are not the law of Switzerland. And I said that for a reason, I continued that this law that we apply is not the property of the global north, any more so than it is of the global south. It unites people because it is the lost property of humanity. The Islamic world and the Christendom. You look at the Talmud, you look at the teachings of Confucius or Buddha, that in all countries, in all cultures, in all nations, in all people, resonate or find voice in fundamental principles of humanity that bind us together. And I think this realization that who is a friend for justice and who is an enemy to those that would commit genocide, crimes against humanity, or war crimes anywhere in the world, provide this or constitute a singular moment for us to come together and do better across the world. We've tried to show that dynamism in a number of situations. In Libya last year, we applied for new warrants. We've tried to increase our field presence, not only in Kyiv, or in Cox's Bazar, or in Caracas and in other parts of the world. We're trying to move forward with confirmation hearings in Joseph Kony case, to move forward. And if we seize this moment of opportunity, if we realize with greater acuteness that the law is not something that can be taken and left, it's not part of an a la carte menu, that we can choose what we want. This dark moment, this moment of uncertainty for Ukraine, can be a moment for us to together as humanity and show the victims, the survivors, the very courageous people that are going to speak in a moment, that from Kyiv to Cox's Bazar, from Kharkiv to Khartoum, international justice is on their side. And if we do that, perhaps we can move more positively in a better direction to make finally, once and for all, in the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we deliver on the promise of never again and the prayer of a world with more justice and less crime. Thank you so much.